Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory be to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakodash. And I want to say double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Blessings to the hopeful elect out there listening and learning and teaching this word in sincerity and truth, in the hopes that we may edify and feed the lambs Yahweh Shai, especially in these last days. And I just came across this this video here that I wanted to do a quick lesson on. Just go into the fact that we're definitely in the last days. And it's funny because I was gonna play some of this clip, and where I've paused it on is 1984, which, if you know anything about that movie 1984, pretty much that George Orwell 1984, that big brother is watching you type of spirit, which is pretty much where we're headed in these last days, where they want complete control over the people. And the ultimate control that they're going to have is by putting chips, inside of people. This particular video goes into, it's from Big Brother Watch. This channel was put up 2 days ago. And it's about a particular supermarket over here known as Asda. And how they're secretly scanning customers' faces. Alright, and they're not just scanning customers' faces, they're gathering data on you. Under the guise of, safety, under the guise of data collections to market more goods and services to the people. But really, it's just a big data gathering system scenario where you're giving up your data unwillingly to these people, unknowingly. And some people just go in, all they want to do is get their trolleys filled. They push them around the aisles and they pick out what they want and they pay for it and they leave. But now it's come to the point now where you don't even have a choice. It's like your face is being scanned, and you got people straight up getting accused of being criminals because their face on the system pops up as someone that has been flagged up on their system as a criminal. So this person might not necessarily be a criminal, but because their face, they look like them, or the computer confused them for that person, then they're getting stopped. And that's one example that gets spoken of in this clip here. Alright, and the comment boards is littered with people that are just not down with this. And we've been telling you about how they're gonna make strides to put the cherry on top of the cake, so to speak, with their new world order. So let's just give you a quick overview of this Orwell 1984. Since I've paused it on this, it says 1984 is a dystopian novel depicting a totalitarian regime that controls every aspect of life. Every aspect of life. It's a totalitarian regime. And when you look up that word, totalitarianism, it says it is a form of government, which the word government means to control the mind. You got the word to govern meaning control, and ment meaning mind. It says that seeks to control. It says totalitarianism is a form of government that seeks to control every aspect of citizens' lives and is categorized by a single, often dictatorial ruler or party. And in this case, the rulers, are the elite banking families of the wicked, known as the Edomites. According to the Bible, the scriptures tell you that the earth has been given into the hand of the wicked, right? And what you're seeing now is them being exposed through the men, which are the Lord's mouthpiece on the earth, exposing the wicked and their agenda and their plans. And this is the reason why they're moving with great wrath, because they know that they have but a short time. That's in Revelation 12:12. In fact, let's go to that scripture quick. it says, Revelation chapter 12, verse 12, it says, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. So this man knows, and partly the reason why he knows is because he sees the prophets out there, pretty much shaking their hand, going to the gates and the nobles out there in the highways and the byways, pretty much raising hell for Esau through the Spirit, because the scriptures tell you in 2 Corinthians 10 and 4 that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through Yahweh to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. So, loosely paraphrasing. So anything that exalts itself against this knowledge, is to be cast down. Anything outside of this book is to be cast down through the Spirit, and that's what we're doing. And this is the reason why they know that they have a short time, and this is why they're moving forward with their plans. Now this is over here in the UK, so let me go ahead and play you some of this video here. And again, this is from Big Brother Watch, as they're secretly scanning customers' faces. All right, let me rewind it a little bit and see. Take it from
our park. We've been escorted off by security. Our van arrived, the van was told to leave as well, so we're gonna find another way to film until make our voices heard.
Asda was built to serve its customers. Now it's spying on them. 1965. The first Asda is opened after two hard-working families.
So they're spying on you. They're actually spying on the people out here, man. And soon it's gonna be a thing where they ain't even gonna need. They're just gonna have the chip all up inside of you, man. Okay, and they're gonna have total control. They're gonna know where you are. They're gonna know what your heart rate is 24/7. That's why they got these smartwatches and stuff, and they're integrating certain technologies in these smartwatches where they can measure your heart rate. They tell you when to work out, how when to slow down, when to keep moving, when to not keep moving. And they pretty much through gradualism, they're getting the people used to artificial intelligence intervening and telling them how to live. That's basically what it's all about, pretty much softening you up, marinating you in that sauce for the chip. That's what they're doing. They're prepping you right now. They're seasoning you up. They're marinating you through this predictive programming, through this gradualism, for their totalitarian rule, where the people are just going to be outright accepting it, the masses of the people, because they're just going to, let's face it, they're just going to be like, well, why not? It's too chaotic to not have, our privacy looked into. It's too much chaos to not have people monitored. So, let's monitor the people. This is the same thing that they did, during the lockdowns, and they had neighbors snitching on each other when they left their homes and stuff, because you weren't supposed to leave. You can only leave for and that didn't, that happened so quick, man. You could only leave to go shopping, and then the people that went shopping, they were queuing up. There were queues early morning. I remember seeing that because I was still out there working. A bunch of people got furloughed, but pretty much they still had people out there, queuing up, pretty much doomsday prepping, But these people got short memories. And what did they do off the back of that? They pretty much beat the country to their knees through fear, and had people not, under lockdown, had people, well, that's the scripture, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, right? The scriptures tell you that in 2 Ezra 16 and 17. So, when we speak about these things, we ain't speaking, we ain't just speaking just to hear our voices. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're speaking because, first of all, these are the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and it's biblical prophecy. What did the scripture say in Prophet Habakkuk 2 and 3? The vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. And the vision, these prophecies, the prophets were known as seers. You know, a seer is someone that can see, a visionary. That's what the prophets do, man. They can see, what's going to happen in the future. All right, they were shown visions, and they wrote them down. They were scribed down, you know, for the times that we're living in, so that we could have guidance. And now we are the watchmen coming back in these last days, filtering these prophecies through the scripture in real time. The word prophesy means to say before, declaring what's going to happen before it happens through biblical prophecy. That's what we're doing, man. What does the scripture say in Sirach 39?
Came together to offer discount.
I'm going to play it. Let me just get this scripture. Sirach 39:1. But he that giveth his mind to the Lord the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient. See, we're supposed to be occupied in this meditation, meditating on the times at hand, being circumspect, being watchmen, filtering what's happening around us through biblical prophecy, man. Watching the news, doing these videos, praying, all right, praying for the downfall of this wicked kingdom, praying for the end of the oppression of our people, praying for vengeance upon our enemies. This is what we're supposed to be meditating upon. The scripture says that thine heart shall meditate terrors. So we're supposed to be, begging Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai to intervene. Like the widow in Luke, the 18th chapter, that was begging the unjust judge to intervene and do something for her. Now, in that scenario, the unjust judge eventually did something for that woman, because she kept worrying the judge. Now, if that's an unjust judge, then what about a just power? So everything's being recorded. What Esau's doing is being recorded, and he ain't going to get away with it. That's why we're seeing cracks in his system. That's why we're seeing the downfall of his system. That's why we're seeing a divide in his system. Because he's pretty much on his way out. It says, but he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient, and be occupied in prophecies. So we're supposed to be occupied in these prophecies, man. So let's keep playing this video here.
Food for northern families. 1984. Asda, under new management, undergoes a bold new strategy, creating giant supermarkets and centralising distribution centres.
Oh yeah, and in that movie 1984, it was completely, they had the complete control. You weren't even allowed to, have your own privacy, man. Your food was rationed. It looked all gloomy. It looked all gloomy out there. It pretty much it came to a point where Salakia. Yeah, it came to a point in that movie where, I'm talking about George Orwell 1984, where it pretty much got all doom and gloom, and it was to the point where it was all grey. People were getting marched off to the canteen to eat their food that was rationed. Like, everyone was wearing the same thing. You couldn't speak out against Big Brother. They were constantly being watched. And as the name of this channel, Big Brother Watch. So we're actually in that time. We're actually in that time where we're actually being watched, man. You might say, that was just in a movie. Well, guess what? Now it's become a reality, man. You ain't even got a choice. You know what I'm saying? Like, in these self-checkout systems, they've got cameras aimed right at you. They're very bright. Shit. Down there, they got them 4K cameras, IUIC. Then they're pointing right at you. Because, IUIC, they talk about, we got to get 4K cameras. We're supposed to be having 4K cameras and that. But anyway, look, at the end of the day, we're here now. You know, we're here now.
1999. Asda is sold to America's Walmart for £6.7 billion after secretly lobbying Tony Blair. 2020.
And Walmart, even Walmart, I remember even, you know, brothers doing videos on this for years, years ago, talking about how the word Walmart goes back to martial law. When you rearrange the wording, Walmart, martial law, and there's going to be martial law. There's going to be more false flag events. There's going to be more chaos out there in the streets. And it's going to give them more sweeping draconian measures and unrighteous decrees to be pushed. Like, as in, the scripture says in Isaiah 10:1, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, right? So all of these things, are going to happen. All this immigrant crisis stuff that we're seeing right now, all the increase in crime over there in the US, over there sending to Memphis. I don't know if it's just Memphis, but I spoke about that video and how they're pretty much going to deploy, certain agents out there because of the crime rate, to pretty much kick boots off doors and hinges, to pretty much batter down doors and grab people up. Jacob's trouble is coming. It's upon us, man. So they need the chaos. Remember the scripture says in 2 Corinthians 2:11, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So the chaos needs to come from them, all right, which they control the chaos, and then they also have the convenient solution. It's called Hegelian dialectic, pressure from above and pressure from beneath. This is what they're doing. So this is just the beginning, the scanning faces and stuff. Like, it's not gonna stop there. They're gonna put chips in people. There's gonna be more pestilences. All right. There's even talks of, nations coming together now to establish, new sweeping draconian measures in response to a new pandemic. The World Health Organization and that. I think Jason A put up a video on that, which if I can, what I'll do is I'll pull up that video as well after this if I remember. But there's just things going on. There's a lot going on, and we gotta remain hopeful in these last days, because hey, if the Lord ain't protecting you in these last days, then your ass is out there. You're gonna be defenseless out here, man.
Again, to billionaire brothers and a private London equity firm, the Asda Rewards scheme begins collecting vast amounts of personal data about its customers, using this to deliver targeted adverts.
You might say, well, what's the problem, with that? That's obviously, we need that though, because, it makes things more efficient and that, but, you're missing the point. People don't want their pictures constantly all up in cameras and that, and the data being collected. But the thing is, for the most part, people don't even care. The masses of the people don't care because they're so distracted with bread and circuses. They're so distracted with, bills and just working. They're on a treadmill, living paycheck to paycheck lives. They don't even have, the cognitive ability to even critically examine and think about the situation that they're in and heading into. We are heading into head first, very, very quickly, into a complete totalitarian, state, especially over here in the UK. And I remember Elder Apostle Tahar did the title of a video that the elect in the UK should be tried first, because this is one of the most surveyed, countries in the world, man. The cameras that they got over here, right, is fucking ridiculous. And now they're all up in the supermarkets, and they got barriers in supermarkets as well. So some of them won't even let you leave unless you scan your receipt, and then the door. So basically, they hold you hostage in there until you scan your receipt. If you don't scan your receipt, that door ain't opening. Then you got to call the security. Oh, Lord. Well, have you got your receipt? No, I ain't got my receipt. So where's your receipt? You know what I mean? These things, So they're getting people conditioned to checkpoints, checkouts. When you're trying to go through certain barriers, getting them conditioned to getting searched at checkpoints and stuff. Just like they showed you in I Am Legend with Will Smith in one of the beginning scenes, and he tried to leave the island, that had the Crippen virus, and people were getting their forehead scanned, just like they did during the Crown Vicky. People were getting their forehead scanned for their temperatures, man. So this ain't no joke. When we talk about it's just in a movie, well, guess what? It's actually happening in reality, man. So all you doubters and you scoffers, you carry on, man. You're gonna find yourself in a very sticky situation, right? With no defense, with no divine intervention, and your ass is gonna be there thinking about the times that you scoffed when you should have been getting this word, right? You should have been getting an understanding, and praying to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua to save your ass. But guess what? You were bullshitting, which ultimately it wasn't really down to. It's not even down to us, man. The Lord chooses who gets this. It's all about the elect. Only the elect are gonna get this information. You know what I'm saying? The rest of them, they're just gonna keep on partying and bullshitting till it all goes down. Like they showed you in the Purge, Jake was out there partying. The one with Skeletor, I think it was called the First Purge, and they were putting eye implants into people to participate in Jake just killing each other in the streets, man. It was like a Hunger Games type scenario, but it was the whole island that they just wanted Jake to kill each other up, but then they started sending agents in there to clear Jake out, tower blocks, and then you just saw dead Jake bodies all over the floors in these tower blocks. That's what's going to be happening. The scripture says the dead shall be cast out as dung. And I know I'm kind of like, I'm kind of all over the place, but you know what it is? I'm actually envisioning what the prophets, recorded of old. I'm actually envisioning it, and I can see it happening in these cities. And so I'm speaking what the prophets were saying. I'm saying what they were saying, and that's where we want to be, occupied in prophecy. The scripture just said that.
Families sold by billionaires, now rolling back your privacy.
We're in Manchester, where Asda is scanning the face of every customer who enters the store, like a barcode, using live facial recognition.
You hear that? Like a barcode. Using live face recognition. They're scanning you like a barcode, man. Alright, and soon, they're going to be scanning that chip, inside of you, which is going to be uniquely fitted to you. That's going to be that digital ore, where you will become a perpetual slave to the elites. That's what it's going to be. But the elect, like the scripture says, if it were possible, they should deceive the very elect. So we're in them times.
We've hired the world's biggest digital ad man to drive around every Asda branch trialing this technology to let shoppers know that their privacy is under attack. By putting these cameras in shops, retailers are treating us like suspects in a digital lineup, with our faces captured and checked over and over again, often without us even realising.
You hear that? Treating you like a suspect, where your faces are checked over and over again, like, often when you don't even expect it. So for the most part, these people don't know what's going on, man. They don't know what's going on. And what do you think people that are going to be resisting the chip, what are they going to do with those people? They're going to take you and they're going to put you in them detention centers, torture chambers, guillotines. They're going to be cutting heads off, man. You know what I'm saying? So the scriptures speak about that in Revelation, the 20th chapter, about the heads of the men that got beheaded. All right. Right? It's Revelation 20:4. And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua, and for the word of the Most High, Yahweh, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image. Okay? This man's system, okay? That's his image. That has been patterned after what? The first leg of the Roman Empire. This is nothing but Rome 2.0. Alright, and the image is this man's system, his way of life. Alright, what he pushes, his democracy. That's what that's all a part of his image. Alright, and if you subscribe to that image, if you're down with it and you want to assimilate into it, then you're going to be taking that chip. Right? It says neither had received, so they got beheaded for what? Neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Hamashiach 1,000 years. All right? And we're going to be living forever, man. So we're going to be immortal. When Yahweh Shai establishes his rule on the earth, his kingdom is going to be an everlasting kingdom. Scriptures tell you it shall not be left to other people. What do you think the statue in Daniel, the 2nd chapter, was all about? Where the scripture spoke about the stone that smote that image at the feet. That stone is Yahweh Shai, coming back on that gigantic ship to smash, Esau, and his empire, his current rulership, right? And these other nations are going to get it too. All right? And a new kingdom is going to be set up. Yahweh Shai's kingdom that's going to set up, which shall never be destroyed. And it shall stand forever, even forever and ever. Okay? The saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom. The saints of the Israelites.
Trial.
Scriptures tell you Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So don't get it twisted. We know these scriptures, man. We know where we're at. Okay? And we know that there's going to be a transition of rulership on the earth. And this is why the elites are moving with this plan. This is why they're going to start ramping things up. That's why they're pushing out this AI. And with that AI, even Elon Musk, he said in one interview, it's like we're summoning the demon with AI. We're summoning the demon. So these guys are the devils, straight out devils, and they're coming open with it.
To roll out this Orwellian technology nationwide.
She said rolling out this Orwellian technology, that totalitarianism, man. Total control. Right? That dictatorship. It's going to be like Equilibrium out here. If you haven't seen that movie Equilibrium with Christian Bale, where you had guys getting thrown on the floor before these devils for talking to females and that. People getting arrested for having books, and stuff. Oh, Fahrenheit 451, that's another one with Michael B. Jordan. See, these movies are starting to come to my head now. So these things, with these movies, I'm going to try and, Lord willing, I'm going to try and watch one tonight. Maybe Fahrenheit 451 or something. But they show you these in the future, that's how things are. Things are very gloomy. People are just getting grabbed up, put in cages, Handmaid's Tale type shit, children of men, riots, food shortages, one man shall stand up and fight against another and swords in their hands. 2nd Ezra 15 again goes into that. Lack of availability of food for the lack of men, and invading one another, right? For the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Scriptures go into all of those prophecies, man. Okay?
They'll be the first major UK supermarket to treat customers this way.
It's disgusting. Why can't you go somewhere, and if we're supposed to live in a free land, it's not very free if they're doing that. Maybe, you don't want anybody to know where you're. And what now? Everybody's going to know where you're.
Yeah, they're going to know where you are, especially when they roll out that chip. So it starts with this whole surveillance stuff, but when they got that chip, that's, like I said, that's that cherry on the top of the cake. But remember that what the scripture says is in Job 20, that when they're about to fill their belly, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him and shall rain it upon him while he's eating. You see what I'm saying? So, we say bring it on because the quicker that Esau moves with this, that's one step closer, right, to Yahweh Shai's kingdom being established on the earth. And we're not even going to have any more pain. We're going to be in a new, we're going to wake up one day and there's going to be no more pain. We're going to wake up one day in Yahweh Shai's kingdom and we're going to be on top. That's what's going to happen. There's going to come a day where we're going to wake up and we're going to be free from this tyrannical rule, of eating this stupid, shitty ass food, working these stupid jobs, being spied on, you know what I'm saying? Being behind enemy lines, constantly anxious, constantly stressed out, depressed. Jake done, man. Like, Jake are done, like, all over. You got Jake scattered all over in these major cities, just done, living low, living at the bottom, man. And Yahweh Shai is going to change that for us. So this is our hope. All you scoffers, what you're doing, what you don't seem to understand what you're doing is, you're actually coming up against the hope of our people, man. Are you dumb? Are you stupid? So what's your hope in? Your hope is in this to continue. So you like getting spied on. You like, this tyrannical rule. You like being behind enemy lines. You like eating this poisoned ass food. You like breathing in chemtrails. You like the foundations of the earth being out of course. You like the earth being destroyed. You got a screw loose, man. But they play their part.
People will flee violence.
It should be done. That, consultation between people. That'd be better.
They have signage about it.
There is a very tiny sign that's about that big.
And I suppose it says, in the interest of your security, as it always does when they're snooping.
You see? So this guy, he's onto something. And I suppose it says it's in the interest of your security. So they're pushing this like, they're modeling it so that it's for your safety, for your security, but really it's to take your freedoms away, man. That's exactly what it's for. Especially when they roll out the chip, when they beat the people to their knees, the masses of the people to their knees through, these false flag events and stuff and pestilences and that. People are going to be begging for order and stability. Then you're going to have the rebels like they show you in Demolition Man, living off grid, pretty much getting what they can to survive. Not fitting into this man's society, but then getting arrested, getting grabbed up and imprisoned. Hey, the scripture says the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye shall be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So this is about going through much tribulation, man, to enter into the kingdom.
Yeah.
So, what's your general concerns about this? What do you think it means for shopping in the UK?
Well, they're obviously profiling people. 99% of people...
Yeah, that's it. They're profiling you. Big Brother is watching you. He said they're profiling people. Alright? The word profiling, I'll just pull it up on Google. It says the recording and analysis of a person's psychological and behavioral characteristics as to assess or predict their capabilities in a certain sphere to assist in identifying categories of people. Right? So constantly analyzing you. Alright, which that chip's going to do all of that for them. Alright, you're going to be hooked up to the Internet of Things. Alright, and they're going to be able to upload stuff into you. They're going to be able to control you completely. He causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had, the mark. So that's what's coming. And that mark is a physical thing. Right? It ain't just gonna stop at them taking your picture, man. They're gonna put technology inside of you, under your skin. That's gonna be emitting radiation as well, by the way. And it's gonna be giving people the grievous sore. So that's another thing. So if the mark is sin, then hold on a minute, what about the grievous sore? So you mean to tell me that, you sin and you get a grievous sore? There's people sinning all the time, that don't have no grievous sores. When you go into that grievous sore, so you mean to tell me, so a guy commits, adultery, and all of a sudden he's got a grievous sore on his forehead or his hand. No, that don't mean, it's not talking about sin. The mark of the beast itself is not sin. But to take it, right, you will be going off. Because the Lord told us not to take it. Right? It's an actual physical thing. It's charagma in the Greek. And when you take it, it's going to be emitting radiation and it's going to cause a discharge or a pus. to ooze out of your skin. Because you now got that cutting in the flesh and you've got something inside of you, a foreign object inside of you that's going to be pulsing and emitting radiation connected to these towers and whatnot, connected to the grid, connected to the Internet of Things. And that's going to cause a cancer. The word for grievous sore, or the sore in Greek, is helkos. And it goes into a discharge or a pus. You can find that in Revelation, the 16th chapter. You know? So let's not forget about these things. Right? Let's stick to them scriptures, man. Let's not give heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. Let's continue in the things which we've learned. All right? And let's keep warning, you know, the elect of the nation of Israel about what's coming.
Legitimate to go into a store, so I don't see why everyone has to be profiled by a camera when they go in, really.
You should stop it. On the airports and stuff like that, I understand. For security reasons, but for the shop, no.
And even that, like, you got to get these passports. Which passports, they got the same technology in them. The NFC, they call it over here in the EU. Or in Europe, they call it NFC, near field communication. You got the RFID chips over there in America. They got them, that technology, they got it in the smartphones, they got it in the passports. Right? But soon, they're going to have that technology inside your skin.
Shouldn't have it.
This is Sarah's story. She's a teenage girl who was misidentified.
So I'm going to leave that. I ain't going to go into it. But she's the one that she was about to introduce the girl that got her, she got mixed up for being the thief or the criminal on the camera, but it weren't her. So you're going to have all of these things. Okay? So these comments, someone put Tony Lee, UK. Just a trial means just a start. So there you go. You know, oh, we're just trialing it. See, that's that gradualism. They come in, oh, we're just trialing things. Right? Ronald put up this, I'm a pensioner and fed up with the self-checkouts, cameras. From now on, I will simply use my corner shop. Perhaps a bit more expensive, yes, but you are, right? But you are speaking to a human and not being treated like an inconvenience. I detest the way shopping has now become, being watched all the time. Support your local shop. Well, guess what? The scripture said that no man might buy or sell, so you ain't even going to be able to go to the convenience store, right? There's going to come a time you ain't even going to be able to go to the corner shop to get what you need to get. Someone put, yes, what? Your corner has cameras too. Man... Someone put, Richie ST said, under UK data protection laws, everyone who shops at these Asda stores with CCTV should write to Asda and demand a copy of the information. I mean, you can do that, but at the end of the day, it ain't going to stop the plans of the elites. They have an agenda, okay? Boycott Asda. Billionaires sick with greed. Try trillionaires, bro. These guys are dealing with old money. You think it stops at Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and them guys? Those guys ain't nothing but middle management, man. You dealing with these Rothschilds and them. These guys print the money. Okay, they got old money. I'm never going to Asda again. Problem solved. No, it's not problem solved. You see these people? You see the masses of these people? They don't have the wisdom. That's why the scripture says in Isaiah 33:6, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength for salvation. See, I'm reading all of these comments and I'm not the slightest bit struck with fear, because I know what we need to do. We need to call upon Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. We got this understanding. We got this truth. You got people reading all of this stuff. They have no spiritual backing. They have no hope of being saved. You know? Great work, guys. We are truly beginning to live in an Orwellian future. Yeah, that 1984, man. They had that Room 101 as well. Remember that torture chamber in Room 101 in George Orwell 1984, where they were torturing, individuals that did not comply, right? That did not fall in line with the image of this man's system. So, anyway, look, I'm going to leave it there. And I said I'm going to pull out that Jason A video about these pestilences and that. Look, what I'll probably do is I'll do another video, Lord willing, tomorrow or later on, if the spirit hits me, talking about that. All right, and these nations coming together to establish new draconian laws and measures in response to a new pestilence. So now they're talking about bird flu and stuff. So the things are definitely heating up, man. We just gotta just stay circumspect, stay plugged in. What does the scripture say in Ephesians 5:15? See then that you walk circumspectly, as wise and not as fools, redeeming the time because the days are evil. The word circumspect means to look around. Okay. Anyway, so with that, man, I pray you edified. Shalom to the elect.